please. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday, October 16th, 2023 regular scheduled Commissioners Board meeting. At this time, I'd like to explain to you why we got a couple of vacant seats. Commissioner Matthews had a approved absence, and Chairman Nickel is out with an illness. So we will proceed on. At this time, if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would, please bow your heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings we receive. Thank you for allowing us to live in a country where we can gather and voice our opinions. Please give us the guidance to serve the people of Harnett County in an appropriate way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, this time we'll consider any additions or deletions to the published agenda.
We have one item. One item for the agenda to add.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add an item under new business to discuss a resolution to the U.S. Corps of Engineers concerning a quarry expansion by Martin Marietta.
Okay. Any other agenda adjustments?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion we approve the agenda as amended.
Madam Commissioner. All that having been properly motioned and seconded, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it as amended. Okay, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion have been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk. Okay, this time we're going into a public comment section. Now, I realize there's a great deal of confusion here because some of you signed up for the public hearings that are later down the agenda and some for the generalized public comment section. And I don't have any way to distinguish on the list. So the first one I'm going to call is Elizabeth Longman. Are you here for the public comment section?
As always.
Okay. Just want to clarify for the record.
Elizabeth Longman, Hamilton Road, Bundeville.
Ms. Longman, could you speak up? We can barely hear you.
You can't hear me?
Yes.
But no, gentlemen and Ms. McCoy, I just wanted to reiterate something happened in cell block C of the jailhouse over the weekend. I know as you're navigating the lawsuit of Mr. Eric Griffith, who died in the jail, just be aware that if you had cameras, you'd have more accountability of what happens in that jailhouse. That is county taxpayer money funded building. The least, with lives involved, the least you could do is have cameras so when people get beaten up, hurt, or killed, you're able to have some kind of accountability as the county continues to pay for Wayne Coates lawsuits. Thank you.
Mr. Alan Longman.
Yes, my name is Alan Longman. I'm from 234 Hamilton Road in Bonneville. The reason I'm talking today is because I was at a meeting of the planning board. I found it very, very confusing on the procedures in which the chair had for the planning board. Basic things were not done. If I'm going to have a hearing, I want the people who are there to have all the information ready so that you could be properly informed. That did not happen. In fact, most of the reports, they kept saying, well, it may be this way, it could be this way. No report from the Corps of Army Engineers, nothing for flooding or any other problem. The point is, it never should have been accepted to have a hearing unless you demand all the information. The reason, that gets them off the hook of being responsible for anything because they can say, hey, I told you we weren't quite there and we didn't say specifically what we're liable for. And I think that's despicable. The other thing I think is terrible is that you have no infrastructure. You have an infrastructure problem with the education, the roads. Why are you putting townhouses? You can't recoup the loss and the burden to the county by having townhouses, condominiums, and apartment complexes. Most other states, most other places don't allow it until their infrastructure catches up. The other problem is that you got a sewer line going to the one that we talked about yesterday off 27, the other day at the planning board, off 27. The point is you got a sewer line that you have to have sewer trucks come in and actually take the sewage out of the line because it's not fully connected, go all the way around. This is common in many properties. If you don't have a Army Corps of Engineering report, how do you know the flooding capability of that entire area if there's a storm? How many days or weeks would it take to get a truck in there after there's a storm or flooding? The point is you don't know. What's the condition that will cause on a sewer line if it's backed up that far? We don't know these things. These things should have been known. Again, I like there to be televised, similar on like the commissioner meetings are, so that everyone can hear. Because most of the corruption that happens in the county actually happens at the planning board level, and they need to know what they're faced in their community when a similar problem comes to their door. You need to televise this. You need to have this on YouTube, just like the commissioners' meetings, so people can be informed properly about what's going on, and they can see the role that their committees are doing and whether it serves the public. I don't believe it serves the public, and I'm surprised that all these things that are happening are allowed to continue. And I don't think the planning board has the best interest of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lieutenant Miller, would you get the remaining list and bring it to the bench, please? We won't overlook anybody. Are there any more names on that list? You got anything? Okay. We got so many people, I'm like, I'll sort this out as we go. Okay. At this time, I realize there's a great number of people here for the public hearings on some of the rezoning issues. Is there anyone else here to speak in the public comment section? Okay. I got three of you. I'm gonna start with this gentleman down here. Would you come to the podium, state your name and where you live, sir? Sure. And are you already on here?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
What's your name?
My name is Zach Howerton. My family owns a farm on Fletcher Tudor Road. It's been in our family for over 100 years. We raise horses and cattle and grow hay at the farm, and just a general place of refugees, quiet place for our family. Martin Marietta is in Wake County, and they are planning on using Fletcher Tudor Road as a thoroughfare to operate their quarry. So I'm here to go on record as opposing them using using Fletcher Tudor Road as a thoroughfare. They already have a thoroughfare they can use on the north side of the mine in Wake County. So I don't think it's right for a business that's in Wake County to negatively affect the landowners in Harnett County. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Ma'am. I know you're on here somewhere, but I was just looking for it.
There's a lot of lists. Rebecca Brock, 5220 Christian Light Road, commissioners and staff. I just want to verify, I know you can't answer, but 3 makes up a quorum here out of 5. I'm just hoping that's correct. It's disappointing that Matt Nichols and Brooks isn't here for such important decisions that have to be made tonight. Anyway, I'm here in general because I want to talk about these upzonings, because really, while the number goes down, the number of houses that are allowed on these public hearings, these plans go up. And I know you guys are the buck stops here, and I'd really like to bring a couple new implications into you. Mr. Longman talked about the internet and the utilities, water, sewer, septic, that type of thing that would have to be somewhat developed for these. The roads, the transportation. We don't have any public transportation to much of Harnett County. And the roads, while DOT, we still have to suffer, just like that gentleman said, that a Wake County business would be traveling over Harnett County roads. Besides schools that you have to consider, that's a big deal. We have low-performing schools, overcrowded already, and we're going to add more people. Law enforcement, that group is already understaffed. And we have more people coming, and they have an understaffed law enforcement group. What about the medical? There's 50 places for doctors here in Harnett County. The labor and delivery was shut down at Betsy Johnson, not because it wasn't making money, it was, because they didn't have doctors. There's no 24-hour, 24/7 urgent care facility here in Harnett County except for the 2 ERs. So the last buck stops with you all. The developers buy this land with a certain zoning, and they want it upzoned, or they want to put more houses on it. And I urge you to consider the whole picture here and not just this request of all of the developers. Thank you.
Ms. Moore.
My name is Marge Morton, and I live at 86 Gwendolyn Way in Ballard Woods. Good evening, Commissioners. About 2.5 years ago, on February 15, 2021, a public hearing for a rezoning request was held. Harnett Central Holdings proposed a change for their 75-acre property on Harnett Central Road, which stretches to Ballard Road, from RA 40 to RA 20R. During this hearing, Mrs. Susan Smith Van Cannon, a lifelong Kipling resident, retired educator, and previous owner of the land in question, voiced her concerns. She highlighted the alarming rapid growth in Northwest Harnett region, with a particular emphasis on Kipling and Harnett Central Road areas. Drawing from her educational experience, Mrs. Smith Van Cannon expressed how these high-density developments could severely intensify the existing school overcrowding problem. She also highlighted potential issues related to increased road wear, traffic bottlenecks, and strains on emergency services. Regrettably, a motion set forth by Commissioner Weatherspoon led to the approval of the request. Mrs. Smith Van Cannon returned on September 20th of the same year, asking the board to slow down growth, and brought with her 2 petitions, one online and the other on paper, signed by Harnett County citizens who shared her concerns regarding uncontrolled growth, overburdened schools, inadequate infrastructure, emergency services, and loss of our rural heritage. The undeniable truth is that there's an urgent need to slow this growth to ensure that schools, infrastructure, and essential services can catch up, and to plan ahead. It is crucial for the county to collaborate with municipalities, fostering a coordinated approach to address the dire challenges our county and communities are facing. We acknowledge that once these high-density developments receive approval, there's no turning back. However, as members of the Board of Commissioners, you hold the responsibility of safeguarding this county and are entrusted by the community you serve. Your duty is to make decisions based on transparency and integrity, always prioritizing the well-being of the constituents who elected you. It's crucial to stop approving rezoning and special use permits that undoubtedly will lead to higher density developments, further burdening our children and community. Now, this I was going to address to Chairman Nichols, but since he's not there, Vice Chair Morris, I will ask you to accept Mrs. Smith Van Cannon's updated petition, which includes additional Kipling community signatures added this week.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Would you pass that down to Madam Clerk? Ask her to disperse that to all the commissioners at her earliest convenience. Okay, anyone else for the public comment period? All right, at this time, we will close the public comment period and move on to item number 6, discuss a request from the Department of Social Services regarding foster care room and board payments. Paul?
Yes, sir. I wanted to come in front of you again today. Our department, the Department of Social Services, had put in a budget amendment for mandated services to pay for room and board for our foster children. We're needing an additional $2 million to help cover that cost due to the increase in the last 6 months. The state has increased the room and board rate that we have to pay 2 times. Plus, they have also started a program called Kinship Foster Care, where we actually have to pay room and board, which is half the regular foster care room and board rate for like grandparents or aunts or uncles that are looking after children. So we have put in a budget amendment, and all these services are mandated. These are not services that the state or the county has the option to provide. These are children that are in DSS custody. Right now, we have 246 children in custody that we're responsible to pay their cost of care. And that cost of care can range anywhere from a normal foster home to like $500 a month. If they have to go to a private facility like Falcon, could be as high as $4,900 a month. So we have put in a budget amendment to ask for additional funds to cover those costs.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Plansky?
Would you like Mr. Coates to cover where we're looking at doing this?
Yeah, that's what that was my next question. Mr. Coates, can you explain what you were arranged with, as far as financing for this?
Yes, sir. And I apologize for not having an immediate answer last week, but I wanted to make certain that the final solution was what I thought it was. But as Mr. Polinsky told you, that there is a budget amendment before you tonight down on item 15E. And I think, it's up on your screen there. And what it's doing is it is appropriating the revenues that we anticipate receiving from both the federal and the state governments for their portion of the cost of the program that Paul just described to you, along with the county's share of that. I think as you noted at the last meeting, sir, this is not truly an unfunded mandate, but it is definitely a partially funded. So what the finance officer has recommended is that we would appropriate fund balance for the current year to cover that cost, and then we will have to look at additional revenue resources in the future to cover the cost as this continues on. This is not going to go away, obviously.
Does any of the commissioners have questions for Mr. Coates?
I do. You say you're gonna cover the funding from this period to what period? The next year?
For this fiscal year till June 30th.
To June 30th.
And Mr. Polinsky didn't mention this, but I do want to point out, I had a conversation with him today. This is what they feel will be the worst case scenario as far as cost to the county. We have budgeted what we believe to be the maximum need. But that probably won't occur, but we don't have control over that because, as he stated, we don't know how many more kids we're going to get in the system between now and June 30th. But I will tell you, I've looked back at the social services budget over the last couple of years, and they have never spent 100% of their budget because, again, we always budget for what we consider to be the I hate to say worst case scenario, that sounds kind of derogatory, but we budget for what we think will be our maximum need. And if we don't meet that maximum need, then those funds just roll back into the fund balance of the county in the year anyway. So it's no harm, no foul as far as that's concerned. But should we get into June and we need that money, then we don't want to be in a position where we can't make those payments because we don't have budget in place to do that.
Okay. I support this issue. So I move that we support it.
Second.
All right, motion having been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion from the commission? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Secretary.
All right, thank
Madam
you.
Clerk. Okay, item number 7, discuss a request to extend water and sewer to the construction site for the proposed new fire station for Andrew Fire Department at 700 block of Mangum Road. Okay. Are you here for that, Mr. Ward?
Yeah, I'll be glad to discuss that. It was brought before the board last work session about, the Andrew Black River Fire Department building a new station out on Mangum Road, near Harnett Central Road and Neals Creek Road, in anticipation of the new bypass coming. I think that was formally approved in the consent agenda today. So Commissioner Weatherspoon brought up a request for Harnett Regional Water to pay for the water sewer extensions to serve that facility. And we prepared a cost estimate and that sort of thing. So if that's the board's intention going forward, we will contract that work out as soon as it's needed. But I'm really here just to answer any questions you may have about the process.
No, if you're satisfied, y'all make it happen.
We will make it happen.
I make a motion, we extend the water and sewer for Andrew Black River Fire Department's new location on Mangum Road.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Steve.
Okay. A public hearing on proposed zoning change, case number Plan 2307-0005. The applicant is LGI Homes Incorporated, Greenfield Communities, 35.36 acres, proposed rezoning from RA40 to RA30 in the Piney Grove, Rawls Road, Fuquay, Hector Township area. Planning, oh, there you are. I was looking for you. Go ahead.
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. Sarah Arbor, Long Range Planner with the Harnett County Development Services. So Development Services has 6 cases that we are bringing before you all tonight as a part of the public hearing, 5 of which are proposed rezonings, and then 1 of which is a text amendment. So our first zoning case tonight is Greenville Communities is the applicant. They're requesting a change of zoning from the RA40 to the RA30. It's located off of Piney Grove Rawls Road. It's approximately 35 acres located in the Hector's Creek Township. So currently the site is undeveloped tract of land with a small pond located in the northwest section of the property and a private cemetery along the south property line. So surrounding land uses consist of single-family residences, agricultural activities. The property is located just to the west of the Regal Woods subdivision and immediately adjacent to the Serenity Plan Unit development. There's a surrounding projects and development map shown there in the staff report, just to give you a little bit of idea of some of the different development patterns in this area. There is a lot of residential there, but also a lot of denser residential development there with Serenity Plan Unit development. As far as infrastructure in the area, there is public water and public sewer available for the property. Looking at transportation, there are 8,400 annual average daily trips along Piney Grove Rawls Road. It's a zoning district compatibility map there provided for your review. You can see that although the property is located within the RA40 zoning district and the surrounding properties are as well, there is some RA30 zoning close by in the vicinity. Taking a look over at the use compatibility chart, the biggest difference here is that in the RA40 zoning district, multifamily is not allowed and manufactured homes are not allowed. However, in the RA30, those uses are permitted with a special use permit. So land use classification compatibility map there provided for your review as well shows this property is within the agricultural, rural, residential land use, and there's some medium density residential land use nearby. And several photos of the site provided for review. The first three are taken from the adjacent Serenity development. The next is from the Regal Woods subdivision. So through staff's evaluation, staff found that the requested rezoning of the property to RA30 may result in, staff found that the impact to the adjacent property owners and the surrounding community is reasonable, and the benefits of the rezoning outweigh any potential inconvenience due to the expansion of the sewer service for future development, as well as could improve the existing road network. Staff found that the requested rezoning, although not fully compatible with the agricultural and rural residential land use classification, is compatible with the surrounding land uses in the area. So typically for this land use classification, it's primarily located in agricultural, low density residential areas without access to sewer system. However, the recent introduction of sewer to the area has made the land more suitable for higher density residential developments and greater use intensities. As a result, the existing land uses in the area have changed considerably and no longer really reflect the typical development patterns that are found in the agricultural and rural residential land use classification. Staff found that the proposal does enhance and maintain the public health and safety due to the potential for increased connectivity as of the roadway connections. The staff found that the request does not need to be evaluated for a small-scale rezoning. So at the September 5th Planning Board hearing, Planning Board voted 4-0 to recommend approval of rezoning due to the growth patterns in the area. There were several residents who were present at the Planning Board meeting to speak in opposition of the proposed rezoning. Those residents were mainly from the Regal Woods subdivision. They were opposing a possible connection to the Regal Woods subdivision road stub, Sherman Drive, in the event that the subject property is ultimately developed as a major subdivision. There was concerns of possible increase in traffic. The residents also stated concerns that the lot and the home sizes may not be compatible with the current lot and home sizes in their existing subdivision. And staff is now open for any questions. Thank you.
So if we leave it like it is, you're still gonna have subdivision from the R40 lots, but R30.
So single family homes are a permitted use outright within the RA40 zoning. So I would say that it would be a possibility.
Okay. Any other questions for the board?
Do we want to hear from the developer?
Yeah. That's what the next thing I was fixing to ask. Is there anybody here to speak for?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tony Tate. I'm a landscape architect and land planner with TMT LA Associates. Our address is 5011 South Park Drive in Durham, North Carolina. I'm here tonight on behalf of LGI Homes, the landowner, but more specifically Greenfield Communities, who submitted the application for this 35-acre tract. And the application that we submitted was for down to our R30 zoning district, and the surrounding community that we've already heard is Regalwood community is an R40 subdivision. The Serenity subdivision is a PUD, so there's some differing lot types there, but this particular request is going to make the lot sizes more consistent with the Regalwood subdivision than Serenity, based on what we're asking for. The lots in Regalwood average from half an acre up to 2 acres. We feel like it'll be more similar to that. Serenity is a RA 40 plan unit development where there's smaller lots on water and sewer. So we're going to be more like the Regalwood community in lot sizes and types. Access to the tract, there's currently 3 stub streets, 2 from the Serenity development. There's one that comes in Sherman from the Regalwood subdivision to the east. There is public water and sewer available through the Serenity subdivision that will aid in developing this tract. Would like to mention that we did hold a neighborhood meeting at Serenity on August 15th of this year, and it was not a great night for a meeting. There were some storms around that night, but there was 3 adjoining property owners or nearby property owners there at that meeting. The developers have been in conversations with the homeowners from Regalwood, Harnett County staff. There's been a lot of discussion about the stub street and the traffic that would be potentially generated from this development through Regalwood. And so we would just like to say that, we're open to the concerns and the requests of the Regalwood homeowners in closing that stub street access. We're open to making that happen from our point of view. So we're looking to help those neighbors there. We feel like this proposal is fully consistent with the long-range plans of the county, being that it's sort of a transition from a larger subdivision to a subdivision with smaller lots, but our lots are going to be much more consistent with the Regalwood, so they're going to be larger than you would typically see with water and sewer availability and access to those facilities. So we would gratefully appreciate your consideration on this project, and would happy to answer any questions that you might have on what we're proposing.
If I understand correctly, I believe there's been an agreement worked out between Greenfield Communities, Regalwood, NCDOT, and Harnett County to allow a cul-de-sac at the end of, or a hammerhead at the end of Sherman Road.
Good evening, Ben Taylor, representing Greenfield, 32 Retreat Drive in Pequot. If I could, Commissioner Weatherspoon, I can speak to that. It's we've had many discussions. We have some understandings of what that connectivity or an absence of connectivity will do. Our site plan would be perfectly sustainable without it. There's well connectivity on other aspects of Serenity. We feel like we do have a verbal understanding of what those connections will do, how we will design around it. There's nothing codified in writing, but we do have, considering the interests of Regalwood, the interests of both the commissioners, staff, we're trying to make sure that our design is compliant to the greatest extent possible.
Does the staff have any comments about the closure of Sherman Road?
Well, may I speak?
Yes, ma'am, by all means.
Well,
Come on up to the pulpit and we'll get to you in a minute.
Yeah, we've been in conversations
Hang on, Mr. Lawler. The gentlelady asked to speak on.
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'll wait,
Okay.
I'll wait for
All right.
him.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll wait for you.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. To answer your question, we had conversations this afternoon, leading up all the way up to this meeting, actually about clearing exactly what the situation is when it comes to Sherman Road. We understand that the roads in there are a small road, and the folks that live out there has no interest in having the folks that are in the Greenfield development to come through their neighborhood, as you would typically have happen in these situations, because they have an active stub street that goes into that property. So we have consulted with DOT, which we are required to do. DOT has advised us that Serenity has numerous access points because it's a large-scale neighborhood, and because of its numerous access points, that it wouldn't be necessary to go through down to Sherman Pines Road. So we were all in agreement that that would be the case. The only issue that we're trying to work out now is do we need to have a cul-de-sac? Do we need to have a hammerhead at the end of it? There is a requirement on any dead-end road in Harney County that you have some type of turnaround for emergency vehicles, and that we have yet to resolve. Hopefully, it can be something that's suitable for everybody. But the big point I would believe that the folks were worried about is the access point of using Sherman Road as an access to the development, and that is not going to be the case. Does that clear it up for
Thank you, sir.
He pretty much answered my question, but I'm still not fully sure that you're going to open up that road. And you don't have any guarantee. You're just saying that, you all have discussed it and there's a possibility that you're going to open that road. Let me finish. I'm fully aware of Serenity Springs, and I'm fully aware of how many houses is being built there. I'm very concerned about the congestion and the traffic because you're going to create more traffic. And I'm certainly against reducing the lot sizes to put more houses on this property. It's creating a hazard here in the county with the traffic and all. I just don't understand it, and I don't see that you're giving us any guarantee that you have any kind of way to relieve that traffic and all. So, no. That's all I got to say.
If I may, there is a good point here. It sounds like y'all have done a lot of due diligence, but you still don't have it in writing from DOT. And I know that great intentions mean well. If we decide to set this thing over for 30 days, do you think you could finalize it and come back before this board in 30 days with some type of written agreement with DOT?
I'm sure we can render an opinion. I'm not sure the DOT is going to weigh in on an official stance without seeing a plan. Is our concern. We're proposing a single-family use, 40 lots or less. The land use, and if you follow that compatibility chart, one of the attractive features to go from RA 40 to 30 for us is lot width. It gives us a little bit more flexibility in a narrower lot. But as Tony had mentioned, we're really looking at this as a consistent use to what exists in Riegelwood. In terms of lot size, I think the house size might be a little different, and I think I support the lack of connectivity of eliminating that road stub. But there is a land use that's already been approved that actually had more lots than that. I think there was 42 lots approved by LGI Homes' former application. That I believe that's 99% entitled. There's construction drawings prepared for that that have been all but approved at the both the HRW and county staff level. DOT. We're actually proposing a site plan that clusters the development just a little bit different way. Honors it allows us to save some of the trees that are present, some of the mature hardwoods that are there. And in closing, I think there's actually less lots on our concept plan. Need the engineers to do all their line of work ahead of us that we didn't want to put that work cart before the horse, if you will. But we're proposing something a little less dense even than what if you just gridded up the way LGI had proposed. There was they had a higher yield than I did under RA 40. So it's not a density based request.
The request for rezoning to RS 30 is not fully compatible with the Harnett County land and land use. So therefore, I move that we deny this.
Point of order, Commissioner, we have to have a public hearing on
Well, we
this.
can have the public hearing. I apologize for that.
That's what. Okay, at this time, is there any more staff reports? Okay, at this time, we will open the public hearing on this same issue. Anyone who'd like to speak on behalf, for the issue, please stand and be recognized. Seeing none, if there's any who would like to speak against the issue, please stand.
Elizabeth Ron Longman, and just to say that road, that Piney Rolls Road, is the only access point or the fastest access point when we're coming from Dillington, Band Level area to make it to the hospitals, UNC, Chapel Hill, or anything on US 1 North and 40 West. That is our fastest access point, is Piney Rolls Road into Fuquay Holly Springs and get into US 1. When you add more congestion over there, because that's what you're going to do. It's already tight over there, plus what's already approved is going to make it even tighter. Now, when you turn it to RA30 with the option of having multi-use, because we've not multi-family, we've not had any assurances, you've not been presented with any plans that show you that they will not exercise their multi-family option in the RA30 zone. That is condemning a lot of people to death. When UNC comes to get my child from the hospital, which they do often, that's the road they come down. You know, when people are having serious medical crisis, that Piney Rolls Road, that is the main thoroughfare for a lot of people. A lot of people who go to work in RTP. That is their main thoroughfare coming out of the county to access that RTP area. It's that Piney Rolls to get to US 1 North and get to 40 West and all that. Piney Rolls Road is that main thoroughfare. And now you want to add even more motor vehicle access, and our hospitals have diminished services already. So just consider that those of us who have to or rely on that as quick access to seek health care, when you add even more traffic onto that, you continue to add a jeopardy onto the lives of those who are dependent on reaching that medical help quickly.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition?
Yes, it's Alan Longman, 234 Hamilton Road, Bond Level. I'm in opposition because for the same reason I am about all this, the traffic, the information's not in on this either. We don't know exactly what their commitment will be or is in the future. And I would like to just say in general that whatever gets approved will be looked at by someone like us who happens to be one of the top planners in the nation. He was here when the German company was doing the Apex area for a new development. He came in number 2 out of 1,300 applicants. He's going to look at the information, and we're going to see that if needs to go to court over some of these things because of the hazard to people, the children's education, and the hazard to the community in general. So thank you very much.
Sir. Anyone else to speak in opposition? Please state your name and
Hi, my name is Karen Harrington Reichert, and I live in that area in Cokesbury, 6711 River Road. I would just say that since you don't live there, that you might want to travel from Highway 42 in the afternoon when people are returning home from work and try to get on Highway 401. Our farmers have asked many times that a light be put there and at Rawls Church Road. It is extremely dangerous for us. I looked at my mileage meter and I was backed up for almost a mile. So I recommend, if you want to see what we're talking about, that you come out and look at it for yourselves. It's hard to imagine, but it's really real. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you. Anyone else to speak? Yes, ma'am. I'll get to you next.
Thank you. I live in the Regalwood subdivision, and I appreciate Commissioner McCoy's, thoughts on this. My name is Donna Waldron, and I live at 291 Sherman Road. I also have concerns about the gentleman's agreement that says they won't punch through that stub. I would like a little bit more assurance that that won't happen. They may not be able to get a plan ultimately out of the DOT, but I would like to see something more concrete that makes that gentleman's agreement a reality for our subdivision. Serenity Point has 2 turn lanes. We would not have such a turn lane into our subdivision. And so if they punch that through, people will be turning into our subdivision without the turn lanes that currently exist for Serenity. So it is a very important thing. I think it's a risky thing to think about that stop. And we appreciate that you've listened to us and that they have listened to us. But I would like something more concrete. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition? Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is John Picola. I'm also a resident of Regalwood subdivision. And I'd like to start by saying thank you to everyone here. I have heard a lot of similar complaints from our community members here. I also see some faces that have let me onto traffic off of Sherman Road in the past, so I thank you for that. We've had quite a few discussions with Greenfield, yes, and they are looking very positive as far as not opening Sherman Road, and that is my main concern. Putting everything else aside, the additional traffic potentially going down Sherman Road would create additional backups for our little subdivision. Having said that, I'm going to leave it to the board and the commissioners to decide the best way to approach, whether it's an R40 or R30 or whatever comes from that. But I do echo, again, the folks from Ben, and Matt's not here at the moment, and Tony, who spoke a little earlier as well. They've been fantastic. Some of you commissioners have been very supportive of our concerns, and I thank you very much for that. I do ask, though, if we can get something a little bit more substantial, following on Donna's comments, if we can get something in writing, regardless of what the DOT ultimately says at the end. Hopefully they will agree, and it seems like they will. But I'd love to see something from Greenwood communities in writing that says we will absolutely not open this. They were kind enough to send a preliminary sketch, which understandably is just a sketch and nothing concrete. But to me, that is absolutely a gentleman's handshake. To me, that means we are moving in the right direction. And to me, I am very happy with the assistance that we've gotten from the commissioners, the assistance we've gotten from the developers, the assistance we've gotten from Tony. There he is back there. Thank you. I don't oppose their development or what they're doing. I just want to make sure that for us existing folks, we put some common agreements or common ground in place that we can be good neighbors to one another. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Seeing and hearing none, at this time we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, since we have 2 commissioners that are not here tonight, and also in order to give the applicant time to get a written agreement, I make a motion that we table this item until November 20.
Mr. Chairman, I may be out of order, but I see no need for us to table. I make a motion that we deny it because we don't have nothing guaranteed in place.
We have two motions on the floor. The first being that we set it over to November 20th when the entire commission can be here. And the other is to deny it tonight. And I'm going to err on the side of caution and second the motion to set it over for November 20th. Let's the development team get things more set in concrete so that these folks can see exactly what you're going to do. And the commission will be here in its entirety that night. So, motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed. We're denying it, waiting to the
20.
To the 20.
So,
Opposed.
okay. Madam Clerk. Do the one. Okay, we'll move on to a public hearing for proposed zoning change for MVI Group LLC, 10 acres plus or minus from RA 20 to Commercial Zoning District Hector's Creek subdivision. Staff.
Right. Thank you, Chairman Morris. So our next case is Plan 2308-0003. As he stated, the applicant is a CE Group Incorporated. This is a 9.9 acre parcel located on US 401 North in Fuquay Varina in the Hector's Creek Township. So the property is currently vacant. It's an unimproved site, which is used for agricultural purposes. So this is going to be one of 3 applications by the same applicant that's going to be coming before you tonight. Just a brief background, all 3 of these properties were once a part of a larger 115 acre tract that has since been cut into 3 smaller tracts. This one on the west side of US 401 North and the other 2 to the east of the railroad track. Surrounding land uses of this property consists of single-family residences and agricultural activities. There are also various non-residential uses in the vicinity, which include a religious institution and a post office. For public utilities available to the site, there is public water available. The property will have to rely on a septic tank for sewer services. Transportation for the section of US 401 North, 11,000 daily trips. The site distances for this property are described as good. So on the zoning district compatibility map, you can see that this property is located pretty well within the RA20M. However, there is some commercial zoning just down to the south. The land use classification compatibility shows you that this property is located within 2 of our development nodes. The employment mixed-use land use and the rural centers, which of course encourage commercial activity. There have been several photos of the site there provided for your review. Right, moving on to staff's evaluation. Staff found that the requested zoning change to commercial is reasonable as the property is located along a major thoroughfare and there are several non-residential uses in the vicinity. Staff found that the requested zoning district is completely compatible with the underlying land uses, which are employment mixed use and the rural centers. Again, as these 2 land use classifications are development nodes, which are designed to encourage commercial activity. Staff found that the requested zoning would enhance or maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare due to non-residential growth patterns along the section of US 401 and the required site improvements if the property were to be developed for commercial use. Due to the compatibility of the requested zoning classification with the underlying land use and the proximity of the requested zoning classification to the subject property, there's no need for a small-scale rezoning evaluation. So as stated in the evaluation, the requested zoning to commercial will not have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community, and staff is recommending approval. At the September 5th Planning Board meeting, the board did vote 4-0 to recommend approval of the rezoning, and that was due to the compliance with the Harnett County Land Use Plan. There was one resident who was present at the meeting to speak in opposition, and the resident expressed concerns that some of the uses permitted within the commercial zoning district could negatively impact his family's adjacent properties with noise, light, and air pollution. And staff is open for any questions. Thank you.
Is there any other staff reports to be entered? This time we'll go into public hearing. Does Anyone who wishes to speak for this request, come forward and be recognized.
Good evening, board members, staff. Mark Ashnes with the C Group. I'm representing the MVI Group who owns the property, 301 Glenwood Avenue, Raleigh, North Carolina. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Sarah's done a straightforward job of explaining the situation. This is a general rezoning. It's not a special use permit. It's not a conditional zoning. As you know, on the board, when you went through the land use plan process, you had ample public hearings and a lot of discussion about what Harnett County should look like. And our client purchased this land. They don't have it under option with the understanding that your land use plan has identified this as employment mixed use center or rural center. And so we're proposing general rezoning to commercial, which is fully compatible with those uses. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak for this issue? Not seeing or hearing anyone. Anyone to speak against the issue?
My name is Alan Longman, 234 Hamilton Road, Bond Level. You said septic system. I kind of remember that there was a problem with septic waste going into water treatment plants. It hasn't been worked out fully yet. And you're expanding to commercial property, which we don't really know fully what its use is going to be for and what the capacity is going to be on the septic system and what that will do to the already problem with water treatment. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Scott Parrish. I really had not planned on speaking on this part until it just hit me there for a minute. When we get to the next topics, I'll be back up here again. But I don't know if developers have zoomed out on this, but I've got commercial poultry houses 800 yards from that property. I farm in that community. I spread chicken litter in that community. A lot. I tend about 400 acres of hay in Harnett County. From Duncan to Bush Creek to Fletcher to the road. I tend to hay over there. I want to know when it's going to stop. When I bought my first property in Kipling in 1997, it was zoned R40. I knew that. So when I bought that property, I had to meet the county's requirements. I didn't come up here and ask you to change anything. I knew up front. When I built my last house in 2016, zoned R40. Farmland that had been changed to the previous owner from farmland, from agricultural land. They wanted to sell it as R30 property. I bought 10 acres. I knew what it was. It joined my farm. It made sense for me to buy that. I didn't come up here and ask you to change anything. You already had the requirements. And I'm going to kind of speak a little bit ahead on these next two items, and I don't mean to get ahead. But you're cutting me out of a job every time you add a subdivision. Kipling is full. We don't need commercial property. We definitely do not need changing from the minimum requirements of R30 to R20. My kids go to the high school over here. The beginning day of school this year, I live in Kipling. I had to drive to Harnett Central. An hour and 45 minutes, I was gone. 3 miles one way, 3 miles back. An hour and 45 minutes. Kipling is full of traffic. We don't need it. We don't want it. I love people. Good neighbors all around me. When is it going to slow down? It's got to stop being about the money. Thank you. I'll be back shortly.
Anyone else to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Zach Hobbs, 99 Kipling Road.
I'm directly across from that property, and it adjoins some of my immediate family's land. I also hadn't planned to speak tonight, and so I'm a little ill prepared. I didn't have an opportunity to attend that planning board meeting when that was voted on. While I understand that it's already been passed by the planning board, I don't know if the argument can be made that it falls in line with the land use plan. The majority of that property does not fall inside the rural center land use. Again, without any proposed uses, I don't know why we open the door for something such a general commercial where we have no idea what will be coming to the area. Again, without turn lanes, safety, traffic, I have to make a left-hand turn out of that road every morning, and I swear I almost lose my life probably once a month trying to get out of there. I think we just need to look at it a lot harder. I appreciate your time.
Anyone else to speak in opposition? Recognize the lady.
Thank you. My name is Amber Chiarello. I live at Porch Swing Lane, Kipling, North Carolina. I wasn't going to speak on this half. I guess I'm with everybody else. I was at the last meeting. We've had a lot of growth in Kipling, and I know a lot of people who are from this area, and we have a lot of history. It's not a lot. When I moved into Kipling 10 years ago, I was on the other side where we were talking about. So that's Kipling there, and then we have where I'm Fuquay, so we got a lot going on. But we changed and we got Harnett Central Road. We took away that entrance, all that was done and gone. So now we have the count of 11,000 cars a day on 401. Where's the count for Harnett Central Road? There's no way that this can be handled. I used to live down on Scotts Creek. I literally moved a few miles up the street, bought a house from Harrison Jones. That little area is history. We are totally ripping it away. I am from Maryland. Growth is inevitable, but it literally has to start from the ground up. That is not happening. Got a lot on Harnett Central Road, too much already. Matthews Landon, send somebody by there, please, for the love of Jesus, and have them look at that drainage system that is going down into the watershed. There is none. I've owned my own construction company. I have grown up in construction. I understand how it works. We are all willing to come to an agreement because getting your way is just being a brat. It ain't gonna happen, But my husband has been hit head on right there at Harnett Central at a stop sign. You can't see. No one has chosen to move that stop sign up some. Nobody goes 35. Nobody goes 35 and 35. I can't even leave our home in the morning. Now, and then we got construction, and then you go down the hill, it's 55. Now we got the kids going 90 miles an hour. But my concern is EMS doesn't have the ability to make all these maneuvers like you all think they do if there is the train. If there is this. I have a 6-year-old son. I have relied on EMS. They are wonderful. Andrew did wonderful. But they can't get where they need to be if you're in Bowie's Creek. They can't get here if you need to be there. The traffic is ridiculous. We had to wait. I can't even tell you how long we had to wait for the sheriff's department to even show up to the accident when my husband got hit head on. And then when EMS did show up, and I work in medical, and when EMS did show up, it was like we were an inconvenience because they're tired. They can't cover all of this. Raleigh Fire Department just paid out almost 3 times the amount in overtime. What are our numbers right now, and what are we doing to everybody? Everyone's tired. We just want to get down the street. My child goes to the Achievement Charter Academy. It'll take me 15, 20 minutes. My husband does the morning, you go in, it's too much, too fast. It has to start from the ground up. Our water barely runs half the time as it is because they go on back behind us. You don't hear us calling, carrying on, and we just want to be left alone. And where we are, we're a little tiny, this is it, little spot. But by tearing all that up and saying you love it here, you might want to reevaluate what you're saying, because we are doing it too fast. Matthews Landing is a train wreck, but go ahead and let's have them go through there for whatever needs they need. And that should never even been a development. And now when we went, and they all showed up, and it's before I moved the neighborhood. But they all showed up and went and got passed, and it was just like this. We wouldn't have known about all this and been really aware of this if we hadn't shown up. Or we have resources and we communicate as a community. Because it's already happened on Harnett Central, where they're building now, and they built on Matthews Landing. Our kids can't even get school buses. There's nature, there's stuff that's there. We're just taking it all away. I mean, just there's no point in this. There's so much more. You're causing more pollution because you won't want to put people more closer into town. Why does everybody got to be out, out, out? Everybody wants these cookie cutter houses. We'll put them closer together, in. But it looks like a shift of things, and it's sad, and I would like to see where we can all work together on this. But they don't even have a plan or spoke to the railroad company yet, unfortunately, because we love the railroad, but it don't call you back. And I'm gonna tell you what, them people moving them houses right there, they're gonna love that train at 3 a.m. because I'm the first one on that train line. The trucks that drive up and down the road, the sheriffs can't even call. The sheriff's gonna be up on Harnett Central, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now. And I have friends that work at Harnett Central at the high school and everywhere. I just came from Andrew today. It is now 25 minutes to get from Andrew. And you should have seen them all trying to get around. Nobody knew how to direct traffic. So we got to do from the ground up. We got to slow down. We don't have water. We smell burning all day, night, all kinds of stuff. Then we have, and I mean, granted, we're used to the bombing, down at the port. But this is too much. The accidents are happening too much. The other night I'm on my back porch, got the kids shooting at the deer in the back, gunshots going on. It's just too much. That gully, it floods. They've already had it washed out, which I call the gully when you go down Harnett Central Road. How? How is there no drainage? And that is that's a watershed out to our oceans. This is what we're doing. So that whole other piece of land, now that's all runs downhill. There is no ditch. The house that they put at that entrance, literally the bedroom is eye level to the road. And we all love our sweet kids in their trucks, okay, but they loud. People are already moving in those neighborhoods and moving out and renting them out. And they're a get you neighborhood. Get you in to get you settled, and you're out. They will become nasty. Nobody will want to live there in a few years. They'll become just like another pop-up neighborhood. But what happens when we start taking away our history? Kipling Church is huge in our history. It goes back to the 1800s and what it's allowed to do, and that is a big deal, what that church has done in our community. And that post office has been there. And it's just got to slow down. We got Harnett Central Road to go around and do all that jazz, but we're not even maintaining that, so why do more? We're not. The kids aren't safe. Those kids get out of Harnett Central and they're 90 miles an hour up and down the road through the lights, and look how long it took to get the light at 210 and Harnett Central. So, I mean, how many accidents are we going to have? How many? Head on, my husband, head on at a stop sign. And it took over 25 minutes for the officers to show up. It took about a good 15 minutes for EMS to show up. And we already know there's a hard hit on EMS and what's going on. But our child isn't even in a Harnett County public school because it's not feasible for us because of the buses or the teachers are overwhelmed. We are doing a charter school in Harnett County, but no, I opted out because there is no plans for our school. There is a lot of, let's do a lot of things to make a lot of money and we're going to put it in the school, but I haven't seen it. None of us have. So how come we keep getting all these houses, but where are the schools? So, and I understand the state of North Carolina has not passed, please correct me if I'm wrong, have not passed the impact fees on our developers. So it's us, the homeowners, that are going in there and paying for that water. Am I correct? Because Maryland, where I'm from originally, does do impact fees, which should be. If you want to make money, everybody should pay money. And that's okay. I paid a percentage out of everything we built, and it went back into the county, and it went into the schools. And if I'm wrong, I came down here 10 years ago, I didn't want to change it. My family does what you all do, and I appreciate what you all do. But we got to do that. And I know we can. And we just need to keep the commercial just a little lower, get the roads going, build it. If we see it and we can go, okay, this looks safer, we got you. But how many people are going to die at Honey River Falls? How many people are going to die at Clippitt? How many people are going to die at Harn Central? I appreciate y'all's time, but at the end of the day, we would do whatever we could to keep everyone safe, but it's all in your all's hands. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak in opposition to that? Yes, sir.
My name is Tim Johnson, 24 Bay Street in Fuquay, Harnett County. I went in to talk to Sarah the other day, stumbled into her about a update comprehensive land use plan, and she told me that it was not available for another year. So I had to drop back to a plan that was that I've kept since February 1st, 19. I reviewed this plan in the last 24 hours. I think it's a great plan. But it seems to me that what's going on the ground is fallen so far away from the original plan that I don't know how to recover. But at least I'm asking you to go back and reread the plan that was adopted in 19 and try to follow that more closely to what's happening on the ground. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Hearing, seeing, be careful how you get. Not seeing anybody this time. I'll close the public hearing. No. We got staff reports.
Mr. Chairman, being that two of our commissioners are not here tonight, and this is a very contentious subject, I make a motion at this time to table this item until November 20th.
Well, what's the opinion of the general lady?
I can wait to discuss it. I mean,
Motion hasn't been made. Got a second?
that's the second.
Okay, motion has been made, properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Chairman, if we're gonna table all of these, we might as well table them all tonight. Because the motion is gonna come up, this gentleman here wants to table all of it. So I'm making a motion that we table it all up until the next meeting for us to
Well,
discuss.
I would defer to Mr. Snow because the public hearing is on the agenda.
Public hearing's been advertised, and if you do table, you need to defer consideration until after the public hearing and comment.
Okay, so you're saying we do need to have the public hearing?
You got the public here that's been advertised, you need to hear them out.
Okay.
Well, we can hear them out, I agree with that. But if we're gonna table one or two, we need to table it all. But we'll go forward with the public hearing. But even with the public hearing, you still have two commissioners not here to hear this. So what do? When we come back to the subject, do we have the public hearing all over again?
Nope.
Because their voices need to be heard.
Come to order, please.
What we can do is we can open the public hearings and table them, and just table the whole public hearing and not close it, and then bring the public hearing back. That's, if you want to hear it, that's up to you guys. It's just another option.
Well, if we do hear it, there's a record of it, and we can provide it to the other two commissioners.
That's
So
right.
when they
You can
come
do that.
in at the next meeting, they will have seen
Okay.
it in its entirety.
Right.
But I will defer to council.
You have the discretion to follow plan option B, but I mean, people are here, it's been
But
advertised.
we've advertised the agenda, and these folks are obviously concerned about it, and I think they're here. Let's give them an opportunity to put their opinion on the record. Okay?
I agree with
We've
that.
already
I mean,
approved the agenda, so.
since they have their voices
Approved
heard.
the Public hearing.
We have to record what they're saying in order for sound and the other commissioners to make a sound judgment on the issues.
All right. Hearing none.
Am I right or am I wrong? I mean, what is the point of them making their speeches tonight in the public hearing and not hearing them when the other commissioners are here to make that decision, make the decision?
Everything's being recorded. If a commissioner, this is Dwight Snow talking personally here, if a commissioner does his or her job as they should go back and listen to those comments before they make decisions down the
Okay.
road.
Well, that's all I want to know, that their voices could be heard by those that are not here. So I agree to that.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, we've already approved the agenda, which includes these public hearings.
I agree. When Aaron aside of caution, go ahead and have it. Public hearing on proposed zoning change, Plan 2308-0002. Landowner applicant is MVI Group, 31.23 acres from RA 30 to commercial, on Kipling Road. Staff?
Thank you. So yes, as you stated, the applicant is CE Group Incorporated. This is another property, 31.02 acres, located up in Kipling in the Hectors Creek Township. So the property is currently vacant. It's an unapproved site, which has been used previously for agricultural purposes. The surrounding land uses consist of single-family residences and agricultural activities. There are various non-residential uses in the vicinity, which include the religious institution and a post office. And just in case, because I cannot recall, and I apologize, I don't believe that I mentioned that this is a request to rezone from the RA 30 to the commercial zoning district. Services available for the site include public water. It's been unverified at this time whether sewer services are going to be provided for the property. Taking a look at the transportation, the annual average daily traffic counts are not available for Kipling Church Road. The traffic counts are about 11,000 daily trips for the section of US 401 North. However, the property does not appear to have direct access to US 401 North at this time, just because of the railway. There have been some photos there included just to show, this property does currently have access to a little bit of a limited road network due to the fact that Kipling Church Road dead ends. It then terminates into Neil Smith Road, which dead ends there at the Kipling United Methodist Church. There's been a zoning district compatibility map shown there for your review. This property is located within an area that is pretty well RA 30. There are several commercial properties there just to the south. The land use classification map shows that this property is located a majority within two of our development nodes. Again, the employment, mixed use, land use, and the rural centers. There have been several photos of the site that have been provided for your review. Those first two are from US 401, and the bottom two there are from the Kipling Church Road. Right, so through staff's evaluation, staff found that the requested rezoning change to commercial is reasonable. The property is located within close proximity to the requested zoning classification. There are also several non-residential uses in the vicinity. Staff found that the requested rezoning district is compatible with the underlying land uses, employment, mixed use, and rural centers. Staff found that the requested zoning would enhance or maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare due to the required site improvements if developed for commercial purposes. And staff also found that an evaluation for small-scale rezoning did not need to occur. So the October 2nd Planning Board, the board voted 5-0 to recommend denial of the proposed rezoning, which was based on the limited road access and the potential impact of the surrounding properties. There were several residents present at the planning board meeting to speak in opposition of the proposed rezoning, and one who spoke in favor but with concerns. So the residents who spoke stated concerns regarding access on State Road 1576, which is Kipling Church Road, safety for the children to play in the area, preservation of the area's history and heritage, as well as impacts to the wildlife population. Some of these concerns I think we've already heard a little bit of tonight. And staff is now open for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
Chairman?
Sir.
I just received a text message from Chairman Nickel, and he wanted to let the public know that he is watching the meeting at home, so he is hearing your comments. He is unable to attend due to being under illness, but he wanted to let you know that he is listening to your comments, so.
Good. That'll put everybody's mind at ease. Any questions for staff? Okay, this time we'll go into public hearing. Anyone who wants to speak in support of this issue, come forward and be recognized, please.
Good evening again, board members, staff. Mark Ashton, CE Group, 301 Glenwood Avenue, Raleigh, North Carolina. Unlike the prior public hearing that we just spoke to, the planning board did vote negatively, unanimously on this one, and it appeared that a lot of that had to do with the traffic accessibility to the site. There are two connections from Matthews Landing out to Harnett Central Road. In phase 2 of Matthews Landing, there's also another connection to this particular piece of property. We're obviously aware that through a general rezoning, that doesn't mean that we can put anything we'd like out there in the future. It's all of that is really handled at the site-specific stage. And so, at this time, if the board elects to approve this rezoning, which is compliant with your land use plan, a site plan will have to be produced that can be accommodated, and DOT would have to be accepting of the approaches to the property. So we recognize that. I realize it's easy to say, well, anything can go out there. Well, not anything can go out there. It's we're going to have to do something that would be compatible with the accessibility to the site. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak for this rezoning request? Seeing anyone or hearing anyone, at this time we ask for anyone who wants to speak in opposition of this request.
I do have a presentation that I would like to present to the community.
Chair recognizes that the lady presented a PowerPoint presentation prior to the meeting, and that we've agreed how long she can take.
So my name is Marge Morton. I live at 86 Gwendolyn Way in Ballard Woods, which is located at Ballard Road. So I am impacted by the decision made tonight. In order to understand the impact of the following 2 CE consulting zoning requests presented on behalf of the owners, MVI Group, we need to understand what has transpired in the Kipling community for the last 2 to 3 years. Here are a couple timelines worth noting on the left. The first one is the detail of the property zoned RA30 originally, purchased by Penny Road Development across from Neil Smith Road and extending to Ballard Road. In 2018, according to Land Record Deals, Penny Road Development, later transferred to Harnett Central Holdings, which are the same owners, purchased a property in Harnett Central Road in 401, starting with the railroad tracks to Ballard Road for $949,000. This was the property that I referenced in my public comments period that was property owned by the Susan Smith Van Cannon's family. In 2019, there was an RA20 zoning request submitted and denied by the sitting commissioners at the time, which was Gordon Springle, Howard Penny, Mark Johnson, Barbara McCoy, and Joe Miller. Commissioner Miller moved to deny the proposed zoning change as requested because it was found that there was an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community and does not enhance to or maintain the public health, safety, and welfare due to the potential school impacts on an existing overburdened school system in the area. Everybody seconded the motion and passed 4-0. This was in 2019. Overburdened schools. February of 2021, with a new board sworn in, On November 2020 election, a second RA20R rezoning request for the same property was submitted. Commissioner Lou Weatherspoon initiated the motion to approve, which was passed by all commissioners. July of 2022, Harnett Central Holdings sold the property to a Delaware developer inside a Kipling Village for $3,854,000. Sale price was almost $3 million above purchase price. September 2019, Harnett Central Holdings purchased and combined properties at the entrance of Kipling Church Road community. Did you all know that? On both corners of Harnett Central and Neil Smith Road. In November, the same year, 2019, commercial rezoning request, which was approved for these properties. In January of 2022, the Smith family submitted a commercial rezoning request for property currently housing the Kipling Post Office. It was approved. So here is a building on the property housing the Kipling Post Office, built in 1919 and has been used as a commercial building the entire time. Why was it suddenly rezoned? Why? July of 2022, MVI Group purchases land that was divided into 3 plots. One located along Highway 401, which came before this hearing, at the other side of the highway, and 2 other located on Kipling Church Road, or behind. And there you have them. In fact, there are currently 3 commercially zoned properties within Kipling Church Road community, and we have before us a potential 4th commercial property, 26 acres larger than the other 3 combined. In addition, as you can see on the GIS map illustration, MVI's group's second commercial request is across 401. It is important to note that all properties except for the Kipling Post Office property are currently owned by the same family. So here we are. It's important to understand who has purchased these properties to get a sense of what the future holds for the community of Kipling and surrounding areas. It is worth noting that approximately 80% of the properties purchased are in Board of Commissioner District 4 and the rest in 3. Harnett Central Holdings and the MVI Group both belong to the Montagues and Van Tassel family. While their business names might vary, the ownership remains consistent as verified on the Secretary of State's website. Often establishing an LLC is a standard procedure when buying and developing properties. This might be challenging for those unfamiliar with the process to grasp the overall scenario. The family has utilized company names such as Penny Road Development, McDougal Road Development, and Lynn Ridge of Anger, to name a few. A review of properties near these zoning requests using the GIS map tool reveals that the family has bought, subdivided, and sold vast tracts of land in the Harnett Central and Ballard Roads region, yielding significant profits. So the planning department did not receive preliminary site plans for any of the properties in the Kipling Church area. When considering the family's land acquisitions in our region or area of Kipling, there's a reasonable assumption that the 76-acre residential plot may be divided and sold to other developments for substantial profits. Additionally, the prospect of satellite annexation into Lillington could increase the potential for more homes to be built per acre. By the way, Matthews Landing is annexed to Lillington, which is why it's out of their control. Regarding future intentions for the commercially zoned properties, it was pointed out by a worried local resident during the commercial rezoning hearing for the Kipling Post Office property. According to the county's Unified Development Ordinance, these commercial, I'm sorry, I forgot to click. No, I did not. We're good there. So these are some of the examples of the commercial types of businesses that can be there without any additional planning department approvals. Convenience stores, flea markets, retail stores such as Dollar General, shopping centers, auto repair shops, auto sales lots, car washes. So let's focus on the ingress and egress flows of traffic on this property. So 5 years ago, as was stated earlier, state and county DOT closed Highway 401 access to Kipling Church and Neil Smith Road, and instead routed traffic to Harnett Central. Because of this, there's no direct access to the MVI Group properties from Highway 401. I think we've already established that. Instead, they would have to flow traffic to the properties through Matthews Landing, Harnett Central Access, or Kipling Church Road, which is currently a private road. So we all know realistically that would not be feasible. So it would be Matthews Landing. Matthews Landing is a massive community being developed on 348 acres, which when completed will have 711 single homes, 254 townhomes for a total of 965 homes. It is worth noting that this development was voluntarily annexed to the town of Lidlington, and all rezoning and permitting is handled by them. With 965 families moving into Matthews Landing within the next 1 to 5 years, the Matthews Landing development alone will add approximately 2,000 vehicles to Harnett Central Road. If you also consider other developments planned and under construction along Harnett Central Road and Ballard Road, the number of vehicles will grow exponentially to over 4,000. These numbers don't include existing traffic from established neighborhoods in the area. These are an estimated 4,000 vehicles, not counting vehicles if these MVI properties are approved, rooftops. And this would be all within a 1.6 mile area from Ballard Road down to Harnett to Matthews Landing, which is right there, to Harnett Central. So, and these are figures, the latest figures. As per the North Carolina Department of Commerce, 70% of employed individuals in Harnett County travel to other counties, with the majority heading to Wake County. That is 70%. 70%. It's reasonable to infer that the significant number of these commuting residents will use Highway 401 at Harnett Central to go to work, come to work, take kids to school, and back again. So this is going to increase congestion, accidents, added pressure on our emergency services, and as many reasons that were mentioned here a few minutes ago. So let's shift to our schools, which is the biggest issue that the community and the Board of Commissioners should be concerned about, which is our chronically overcrowded, underperforming, and underfunded school system. Children living within the 1.6 mile area that I've described, including those that would be living within the requested residential property, would all be assigned to the same schools. Most concerning are the kids that will attend Harnett Central High and Harnett Central Middle School, which have been overcrowded for years and have seen huts added on school grounds to deal with the problem. So consider the current situation. At present, our county contributes an average of $900 per student, in stark contrast to other counties which provide $2,457. That's local contribution. This places our per student funding significantly below state average. While other regions impose impact fees on developments, other states, to support schools and infrastructure, such measures are prohibited in our state. The property tax revenue derived from these high-density zone projects doesn't even cover the educational cost for one child to go to our schools. Meanwhile, our school district faces challenges with underachievement, limited teacher bonuses, turnover of staff and teachers, and overcrowded schools. Yet, here we are deliberating on yet another high-density project without talking about our children. Our planning and development regulations dictate that zoning request evaluation should focus on land use compatibility, the implications for adjacent property owners, and whether the proposal promotes or sustains the public's health, safety, and overall welfare. Why is the welfare of our schools not incorporated into these assessments, especially when it clearly should be? What about the implications for our children, the added pressure on already packed and underperforming schools? We're discussing the education of our future community leaders and entrepreneurs and business people. It's not only the county overlooking issues of overcrowded schools and traffic congestion. The municipalities are guilty of this as well. If Harnett County denies a zoning application, developers pivot to Lillington and Anger, seeking satellite annexations. Many of these approved zoning requests cater to high-density developments. And the sole requirement from the developers is to just have a traffic analysis to determine the need for turning lanes. Sadly, the impact on schools and the well-being of our children is being completely disregarded. So back to the rezoning requests of these two CE Group properties owned by MVI. I am asking that both zoning requests be denied for the following reasons. Approval would have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community and does not enhance or maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare due to the potential school impacts on the existing overburdened school system in this area. Approval would have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community and does not enhance or maintain the public safety, health, safety, and general welfare due to the increase in traffic. 4,000 plus vehicles twice daily, causing increased traffic accidents and straining our emergency services. Before I finish, I would like to remind the commissioners of the Harnett County Code of Ethics that they're bound by statute. Board members should act with integrity and independence from improper influence as they exercise the duties of their office. Board members should avoid impropriety in the exercise of their official duties. Their official actions should be above reproach. Earlier, I highlighted the Montagues and Van Tassels that own the MVI Group, which is seeking these rezonings via their consultant, CE Group, to maintain transparency, sidestep potential conflicts of interest, and abide by the Harnett County Code of Ethics. I asked the Commissioner Weatherspoon, given his familial connections, to abstain from any decisions related to the MVI Group's request, including tabling or voting. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition? Thank you, Mr. Long. Yes, sir. Would you state your name, please?
I don't know if I can follow that, but I'll try. My name's Dan Smith. I'm the owner of 42 Neil Smith Road, which is the intersection of Kipling Church Road and Neil Smith Road. I just want to talk briefly about a few observations I have about this request. The main thing I think that many of my neighbors and friends from church were talking about is the access issues, which we've already heard about. Currently, it seems the only entrance to the property is halfway down Kipling Church Road, which cuts right through the church property. Church property has property on both sides of that street, which will be a dangerous situation for our church, for our children crossing the street. Currently, there are only 4 residences up Kipling Church Road. So I do think that would become a very dangerous situation. So I think we would all prefer a different entrance to this piece of property, preferably from 401 and the railroad. But I think we all know and we've all heard our difficulties with dealing with railroad companies. In the past several years, we've had 3 railroad crossings closed in our community and 1 opened. I feel the railroad company's goal is to close as many railroad crossings as possible, number 1. And they've done that in our community for sure. But I don't think that excuses the lack of progress in trying to at least work through the access issues with this area. I went to the last planning board meeting, the Harnett Planning Board meeting. I was very disappointed with the engineer from the MVI group when he didn't really seem to have worked through any of these access issues. I don't think he had made contact with the railroad company, and I don't think he was even aware that R.J. Corman Railroad Company had purchased it from Norfolk Southern. So I know nothing. You can't just call and say they never called me back and leave it at that. That doesn't get it. So I think he needs to try to do some more on the access issues. I do find it a little ironic that when this rail line was laid in 1903 by the Raleigh and Capefield Railroad, all the citizens in that area were real excited about having that. Now it's turned out to be our worst enemy. I hate that the railroad can hold us hostage for just because it can do it. I'm not against commercial property. I'm not against it. I understand the request is for commercial or residential. It's not a request for none of it. So in conclusion, I would rather see this as a commercial property rather than residential property. We don't need any more houses in our Kipling area. We've got enough already. We don't need any more traffic through our area, especially around our church with our children. So that is my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak in opposition to this? Mr. Long.
Yes, my name's Alan Logman, 234 Hamilton Road, Bond Level. The thing I hear all the time is that all these safety reports are done. It confirms to our standards and everything meets standards. Yet when you listen to the people talk, it obviously does not. So the question is, what standards are they using? They've been doing this for years. They've been in business. So what standard are they using to say it's safe and that it meets requirements? Are our requirements too low? Is the bar too low? Shouldn't it be raised? By these meetings, there seems to be a lot of questions to what is acceptable and not acceptable in the community. I can't have reports done supposedly by all these different agencies, and they did not come up with any complaints that were worth mentioning, that they should have actually done their job and said, hey, look, these are the problems you have in the community. Why is it accepted and why is it approved? And that comes to question to a lot of things. The other thing is, a lot of people said they did not know what was going on in the community or that there were these meetings. Again, if you had free streaming of Facebook, similar to what you had in the commissioner meetings like this, people would know what's going on and they'd be up and informed, it'd be transparent to them, and they could see the process that's happening in their neighborhood. Because eventually it's going to affect everybody's neighborhood and everybody's business and safety. Thank you.
Anybody else in opposition?
I warned you I'd be back. Scott Parrish, again, live in Kipling. What I spoke on earlier was more of a personal reason, but I am the chairperson for the trustees of Kipling United Methodist Church. Y'all have seen the access, or what I like to call the lack thereof. As Mr. Smith said, we own property. We have our community building on one side. We have our church and playground on the other side. This is a private street. 8-10 cars a day, at the most. The way it's laid out now in this back section of property in the 70-plus acres, that we're talking about 70 homes, maybe 80 homes. If this is rezoned, you're talking about 200 homes plus through a private street, not state maintained. Would the state have to pick up this road? Would the developers have to redo this road up to state standards? If that happens and it has to be widened, our church loses 12 parking places right across the front of the church. This is a limited access piece of property. The Harnett County seniors use our community building the first Tuesday of every month. It's funded by the county. They help rent this building. When they're there on Tuesday mornings, the parking lot is full. The church parking lot, the community building parking lot, they're parked on both sides of the road. There's not access for increased amount of traffic. We can't fight a subdivision, but we're here in opposition of the rezoning for the safety. For my kids running out of the community building because it's time to go to the playground and never looking back across the street because only 4 or 5 cars go up and down in a day. That's going to change. That's going to negatively affect our church. So thank you for allowing me to speak twice. And please consider how it's going to affect Kipling Church, Kipling, the residents there, the farmers, the school systems. You've heard all the numbers. The presentation there was great. Please consider these things when you make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else speak in opposition? There's 2 of you. You want to go? Watson?
Hey, y'all. My name's Ernie Watson, 170 Caddy Drive, Cameron, North Carolina. Didn't plan on speaking today, but listening to all your stories and kind of what's been going on here, I felt compelled to do so, not for opposition or living in Kipling, but for a precedent that could be set as we move forward. So if this zoning and these developments happen inside of Harnett County, other areas of Harnett County are going to take that precedent, and they're going to try to move forward on it, and it's going to upend a lot of other lives. And the reason I'm up here saying that is because right now I've got a real problem with, and Ms. Marge, thank you so much for what you said. And I think the most important thing that was said there is about our school system right now and our education. I don't know if y'all know this or not, and I don't know if y'all have kids in school right now in high school, but across Harnett County, there are teachers not showing up to teach class. That happened today, and it has been happening. Our seniors are teaching class in our high schools right now because teachers are not showing up to school. Period. That's a fact. So I'm not here to pull everybody's ear for very long, but if we set a precedent of overpopulating our county and not doing this correctly and not doing it smartly, everybody suffers. Period. Dot. Everybody. And if we don't stand up to it now and set a precedent to move forward as we start to get overpopulated from Raleigh and down and Fayetteville and everybody else, because Harnett County is amazing, we're just going to get run over. And our kids are going to suffer for it. And that's all I got to say. Thank you. Thank you, everybody in the chair.
Thank you. Sir, were you going to speak? Were you going to speak again, sir?
Me?
Yes.
All right,
Okay. Okay. All right, anyone else to speak in opposition? Okay.
Hi, I'm Betty Harmon. I'm at 118 Benton Place Drive in Angier. I have a little different perspective, okay, with traffic. When I live in Angier, I work in Lillington. There are 13 new subdivisions going up between my house and my work. It used to take me 20 minutes to get to work. It's now 35 to 45 minutes. One of those roads I take when it's crowded on 210, which now has flooding due to improper drainage on some of the developments there. I do take Harnett Central Road. I think we need grocery stores in this county. I have to go to the grocery store in Wake County. The grocery stores we have are disgusting. My husband works for a company that services one of the trains here. He will not even buy canned goods there. He has seen the back of that grocery store. We do need grocery stores. We need better shopping opportunities. We don't need it on Kipling Road and 401. To put it where there's just one access over a railroad, you are looking for a major disaster. And your emergency crews are not going to get there. There is currently land on 421 at Bowie's Creek that hasn't had a development sign there for many years, saying it's going to be a big development with commercial properties. I don't know what's going on with that. Nothing's done except a sign. Something does need to go into this county, but It does not need to go on 401. Thanks.
Anyone else to speak in opposition of this issue? Come forward and be recognized.
Thank you. My name is Dennis Boucher. I have a home on Port Swing Lane, and I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's 9 houses on this street, and it's not even a paved road. And it's connected from Harnett Central to Reed, where the post office is. And it's already being used as a shortcut to get, for people that are trying to turn left or right onto 401, they'll go around and through Porch Swing and back around and try to cross in another area to get onto the road because it's so much traffic. In fact, a lot of times when I try to take a left off of Harnett Central, I'll actually take a right and drive down the road and then turn around and come back. It's easier. And so we're always we've been talking about this all night, the traffic and everything else. And these developments aren't even built yet. I mean, if it's bad now, right? What's it going to be when all of these developments are done? There's one right at the end of Harnett Central they're building right now. In my opinion, it's butt ugly. The houses are just on top of each other. This whole area is just being defaced. I mean, you could drive down this road and it was all farmland and corn and it was beautiful. Now all you see is houses on top. It's like a monopoly board. And so, anyways, on Porch Swing, there's children that play on the street. And it's not paved, and people go flying by, and it's just because there's just so much going on. Everyone's looking for an alternative, and they're finding it. And sadly, these neighborhoods, like the one I'm in, these are old homes. They're built 100 years ago. It's your typical Southern home, and with big porches, and they're beautiful. Now you step out on your porch, and you see these really ugly developments, and what bothers me is the developers probably would be standing here tonight if someone was building a development in front of their house. And, you got to put the shoe on the other foot sometimes and just put yourself in other people's shoes. These people are making their money and they're packed their bags and they leave the problem for everybody else. And it can be stopped. You can't stop progress, but there are people that have been living here many years, and you can only be so flexible. And that presentation we saw tonight, I mean, that hit the nail on the head. I mean, it is just affecting everyone, and the people that are doing these developments, it's not affecting them at all. They just get to go home. They're probably living on a nice home in a lakefront property somewhere because they're raking in the dough. And the rest of us have to put up with the rest of all the traffic and everything we were talking about, the schools, the teachers. It's got to stop sometime. And God forbid, a fire truck can't get to a house because there's not enough firemen. And here comes the lawsuits. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. I like my neighborhood a lot. And it was very quaint. And it'd be nice if we could keep some of this area looking that way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Come forward and be recognized.
Rebecca Brock, 5220 Christian Light. One thing I want to just make mention that you may know, but out west, whenever we had to cross over a railroad track, the railroads had to tell us what they were carrying in case there was hazmats that would be needed in case there was an accident at that crossing, which would involve Chris Prince's fire department and fire practices. But what is Corman carrying on these crossings across Harnett County? Do we know? And I'm not aware that there's any commercial property that you have to cross over a railroad where there's no left turn on 401 to be able to get to. It's just a train wreck with any type of hazardous material would be terrible. And I don't know if that's been answered or even mentioned.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
I'll make it quick, I promise.
Okay, have you already spoken
Yeah,
on this?
I live on the street. This is the second time really quick. Am I allowed to?
Mr. Snowden?
I just want to make it really quick.
If it's very brief.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to say that I, again, appreciate everybody coming in and talking and looking at this and everything the way we have. I just really think that we just need to reevaluate it. I mean, I get it. It's probably going to go forward. We're going to do what we're going to do. But considering the fact that we're just not looking at the bigger picture. I'll let you all go. I don't want to bother you, okay? But Margie's right. You know, we're watching these developments come in, and I really think that why wasn't this plan when we bought it? Like, I go buy a home. I'm going to go buy a piece of property. I'm going to build things on it. I'm going to know how many homes I can build on. I'm going to know how to get in and out of this property. I'm going to know if it's perked or not. I really do feel that we're getting a little ahead of ourselves on some of this, and things are being purchased and allowed because we know that they could be done easier and faster on certain ways. So just find another entrance and it'll work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else speak in opposition? Hearing, seeing none, this time we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, again, without being redundant, I make a motion that we table this
To the 20th.
request until November 20th.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk. At this time, the chair is going to take privilege for a 10-minute recess. Please be back in your seat by 5 after 8. We will start promptly. Thank you.
I was gonna holler at you.
Thank you. You ready, Ben? Okay. All right, this time, back in session, we'll go to item number 11, which is the next item, a public hearing on proposed zoning change for Plan 23-08-004, MVI Group, 74 acres, R30 to R20, Kipling Church Road. Staff, will present your.
Right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Morse. So our next case, is the applicant C Group. It is a 74.5 acre property located off of Kipling Church Road in the Hectors Creek Township, and the request is to rezone from the RA30 to RA20R. So the subject property is currently undeveloped. It's a heavily wooded parcel, which is previously partially used for agricultural purposes. The surrounding land uses include agricultural uses, single-family homes, including a new residential development located within the town of Lillington, Matthews Landing, a religious institution, and construction and grading business. Services available for the property include public water. It's been undetermined at this time whether public sewer is going to be utilized. So currently, this property only appears to have access to Kipling Church Road, which dead ends just a little to the east of the property, and then terminates into Nell Smith Road. Site distances for the site are described as good. For the zoning district compatibility map, you can see here the property is located in an area that's predominantly RA30. It is immediately adjacent to the Lillington ETJ. There is some RA20R zoning located just to the south of Harnett Central Road. For the land use classification compatibility, you can see that this property does have medium density residential for a large part of the property, as well as employment mixed use land use. Been photos of the site provided for your review, all from Kipling Church Road this time. And staff will move to the valuation. The staff found that the impact to the surrounding property is reasonable, and the benefits of the rezoning outweigh any potential harm to the community due to the compatibility with the underlying future land use. Staff found that the requested rezoning is compatible with the medium density residential and the employment mixed use land use classifications. Medium density land use classification exists in areas identified as suitable for gross housing densities of 2 to 5 units per acre, which could potentially be possible in the requested rezoning district. And the employment mixed use classification supports a variety of uses, including residential where appropriate. Staff found that the requested rezoning maintains the public health, safety, and general welfare as uses permitted in the requested zoning classification are compatible with the surrounding land use. Staff found that the request did not need to be evaluated for a small-scale rezoning. And at the October 2nd Planning Board hearing, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend denial of the rezoning. The board stated concerns about the limited road network and possible impacts to the adjacent community. There were several residents who spoke in opposition at the Planning Board. Residents spoke with concerns of the ability of the current infrastructure to support a higher residential density, including roads, emergency services, and schools. Concerned about access to a limited road network, and preserving the historic nature of the community for the residents who live there. Staff is now open for any questions. Thank you so much.
Questions for staff? Hearing none, we'll go into public hearing.
Thank you.
This time, we'll open the public hearing on the stated issue. Anyone who wants to speak on behalf of the issue, come forward and be recognized.
Good evening again, board members and staff. Mark Ashnes, C Group, 301 Glenwood Avenue, Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm not going to repeat any of the earlier discussion. I think it just sort of carries over to this particular last public hearing on our part. Just want to reiterate that we do have access to Matthews Landing in the second phase, which is in Lillington's jurisdiction, and they have 2 access points to Harnett Central Road. Thank you.
Anyone else come forward to speak on behalf or in support of this issue? Hearing, seeing none, are there any in opposition of this issue who would like to come?
Name is Alan Longman, 234 Hamilton Road, Bond Level. My opposition is they need to have that approved first by Lee County before you can approve anything on that site, because it's dependent on that decision whether or not it should go through or not. The other thing I want to talk about is basically a lot of the information that seems to be given seems to be questionable. And these questionable not being prepared bothers me. If you're in business doing these things all the time and giving you information that may not be correct, and that these people are held by ethics and have licenses, and we should look and make sure that we have a standard to make sure they're being enforced, that the information we are given is good, even if it means bringing an independent consultant to go check it that's independent of the contractors, because some of the information seems to be almost directly opposite what's being told and what was researched. And that needs to be something that you have to do once in a while, at least, just to keep it honest. That's basically my thing. There should be venting on the board of planners before they have the hearings, to make sure they have all the information necessary to have a hearing so that they comply properly. And if they find more information that needs to be answered, they need to have a second hearing before it comes to Board of Commissioners. And that way we can make sure that they're doing their job professionally and that we're doing our job to make sure all that information is going to be there, because we're going to live with that decision and they're going to get away, because they've been doing this for years. They should have had this information prior to going to the hearing as a profession. And the other thing I'd like to say is that basically that's it. It should be venting. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else speak in opposition?
Again, Scott Parrish is my name. I'm speaking on behalf of Kipling Church. I'm trying not to repeat myself, and I'll be very brief. We can't fight a subdivision. It's their land. They bought it. We're just here about the rezoning. The minimal amount of traffic to our church and our church property is our concern. I would love to have a meeting with the developer, because Kipling Church does have other access to the commercial property in the front. May not have to use Kipling Church Road. But I just wanted to say that on record. If you look at the map, you'll see between the railroad tracks and Kipling Church, we have property. Do we want to give it up? No. But if it benefits the community and makes it safer, we're still going to have to cross the railroad track. You know, we were here several years ago fighting closing of that crossing. At that time, the railroad company did not want to spend $150,000 to put up crossing arms. The church offered to pay for that. We were denied from the railroad company to do that. So what happened? They had to move the whole road, cost the state $1.3 million. If something's going to happen back there, let's find a better alternative. And the church does have one. So we're willing to talk to the developers, maybe help everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else in opposition?
I would like to encourage the board that on this issue to go ahead to vote to deny it, because as the planning department staff mentioned, at their public hearing, they had great input from the public. They heard from the public at their level, and as a result, voted 5-0 to deny it. So the public input has been considered on this particular issue, and their recommendation with public hearing, public comment considered, is to deny it. So for this particular issue, if the board could go ahead and move forward and vote like the planning board determined to deny this particular one. Thank you.
Mr. Langley?
Joe Langley, 298 Kirk Adams Road. I'm not going to go through what we've gone through tonight with all these folks regarding the schools, infrastructure, and county services. I'm going to summarize by saying that every one of these type zonings that come up from now on, there's only two questions for the commissioners, for all of them. In light of the potential strains on the educational institutions, infrastructure, and county services, what comprehensive strategy will be implemented to develop quality managed growth to tackle these challenges moving forward? Question number 2, 5 years from now, will you be able to look back on the decision you make tonight and feel good about it? Thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing, seeing none, this time we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this till November the 20th.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk. At this time, we're going to public hearing for proposed zoning change for the landowner applicant True Love Enterprises LLC, Triangle Land Partners LLC, 121 acres on McDougal Road, and it's changing it from R30 to R20. Anyone wanting to, go ahead, staff. I'm sorry, I was fixing to get ahead of myself.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you, Commissioner Morris. So our next case here is Plan 23080005. It's a 121 acre property. Applicant is Triangle Land Partners LLC, and it's located within the Upper Little River Township in McDougal Road in Lillington. So the subject property is a currently large parcel used for agricultural purposes. The site's crossed by Spinsway Lane, which is a private road in the upper northwest corner of the site that provides access to the several properties to the south from McDougal Road. Surrounding land uses include agricultural uses, single-family homes, and manufactured homes. As far as services available to the site, there's public water available, and private septic systems would have to be utilized for the property. For the transportation, so there are not traffic counts available for the section of McDougal Road. The site distances for the property are, however, described as moderate to poor, depending on where you are on the property. The reason for that is you can tell kind of there in the vicinity photo, there are two pretty big curves, the western and the eastern portion of the property, as well as some topography as well that just makes it a little difficult to see pulling out of the existing driveway there, Spence Lane, and at a point to the eastern portion of the property as well. You can see on the zoning district compatibility map, this is located within an area that's predominantly RA30. The use differences between the requested zoning and the current zoning are shown there as well. The biggest difference is that in the requested zoning, a special use permit's not required for a manufactured home. Staff did provide the compatibility design concept table as well, just to kind of show the minimum lot size they could currently achieve in the in their current zoning, as well as maybe what that they could get if they were to develop this, say as a higher quality subdivision, and then as well as show the lot sizes that are possible within the RA20R zoning district here. For land use classification map, you can see this is located within the low density residential land use classification. Been several photos of the site there provided for your review. Great, and move on to the evaluation. So staff found that the impact to the surrounding community is unreasonable, that the requested zoning district is not adjacent or located in close proximity to the subject property. As a result, the rezoning the property could potentially allow for higher intensity uses and more residential units than the current zoning designation permits, which could result in a greater impact on adjacent properties. Staff found that the proposed rezoning is not compatible with the underlying land use, low density residential. Staff found that the proposal does not enhance or maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare, and that the request did not need to be evaluated for a small scale rezoning. At the October 2nd Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board voted 4-1 to recommend denial of the proposed rezoning. And it was based on the several concerns stated by the residents. There were several residents who attended the meeting who spoke in opposition. Their biggest concerns from those residents was the potential for an increase in traffic on the section of McDougall Road, which has limited sight distance due to the curves and the topography of the land, as well as the loss of the farmland. And staff is now open for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Okay, at this point, we'll go into public hearing. This is for Plan 2308-005, 121 acres in the McDougall Road area to go from R30 to R20. Is anyone who'd like to speak in support of it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott Brown, 409 Chicago Drive, Suite 112, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. My company is the engineers and surveyors for the project. We submitted the rezoning request on behalf of the applicant. Appreciate staff's job and looking and working on this thing and going through it, and the detail that was put before you tonight for the rezoning request. In light of other things, I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. We are requesting a change from the RA30 to the RA20, and I'm sure y'all are well aware of the compatibility chart. I'm aware of it, staff's aware of it, it's in your report. But the RA30 will allow you with public water to go down to a 25,000 square foot lot. As staff mentioned, sewer is not available. With sewer not available, we have had a preliminary soils analysis done for septic, and I don't know, most of you are probably familiar with, but about the smallest size lot you can put on with a septic system is 20,000 square feet. So trying to go down to a 10,000 square foot lot with the using the compatibility chart with the rezoning, that's not practical. Not a 15,000 square foot is not practical. You need at least a 20,000 square foot lot for the soils. And some of the soils on this site, not all of them are suitable. So you can't just take the acreage of the property, divide it by 20,000 minus the roadways. The current layout, based on this property, to yield with unsuitable soils, you get about 105 lots at 25,000 square feet. If you go down to a 20,000 square foot lot, you're going to pick up somewhere between 15 to 18 lots, somewhere in that ballpark. We're not doubling the lots counts, we're not doubling the size, but the cost to put these developments in is getting higher. And if we can take that cost and distribute over 15 or 15, 20 more lots, it makes it that much more agreeable as far as moving forward, and it helps everybody all the way down to the homeowner on the end. Now, yes, can you put a 20,000 square foot lot in with a compatibility chart on RA30? You certainly can. But putting that 20,000 square foot lot in requires you to put curb and gutter, requires you to put street trees, requires you to put sidewalk. Now, as a result of putting curb and gutter in, right now you've got an open ditch where would be considered low density development. Whenever you put curb and gutter in, you triggered a high density development with stormwater. Now you have a concentrated storm flow. You have collection of the storm system in pipes. Now you have to have retention ponds. So going down to a 20,000 square foot lot in a RA 30 zone and you try to pick up 10 or 15 lots, you're actually going backwards. So I understand some of the reservations. Like I said, we're not looking to go down to a smaller lot than 20,000 square feet. We're looking to the zoning is the uses are exactly the same. We're looking at changing the dimensional standards of the lot from a 100-foot wide lot down to an 80-foot wide lot for a RA20 zoning. Like I said, it's in my opinion that it is. You don't have any directly RA20 zoning, but we're near enough to Lillington, in my opinion, that the RA20 zoning would work. Like the only difference we're asking for between the two is the dimensional standards from the RA20 to RA30, and I'll be glad to, at this time, if the board has any questions of me or after anybody else has comments. We did have a Ramey Kemp and Associates take a look at the traffic count. Ronald Stevenson's here. He'll be coming up after I do to speak in reference to what he's looked at as far as traffic and access and potential for road improvements versus this proposed development. Thank you.
Share the rest of your time with the gentleman. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Ronald Stevenson, Ramey Kemp Associates, 5808 Farrington Place, Raleigh. I'm going to keep it really quick and just be available for questions relative to the traffic study. We did go out and take some traffic counts and look at the driveway access point. I think, as you heard staff mention, the driveway location, site distance could be poor depending on where it's located. So we've been looking at where we could locate the driveway. There's some curvature there that we heard from the neighbors. And so we are looking into, as part of this, as it moves forward into design, it's just the rezoning, but into design, we'll look at some things we could do there with signage in the curves and where we put our driveways and that kind of thing that can help draw attention to those curves that are a concern for the neighbors. So just wanted to let you know we've prepared a study, and if there's any questions specifically about that, I'm more than happy to answer those.
I got a question. Based on your traffic impact analysis, how much more traffic will this subdivision put on McDougal Road?
Well, the subdivision, if it's fully built out with all the homes, would be about 1,000 cars a day, a little more than that. And some of those are going to go left and some of those are going to go right. So not all of those are going in the same direction, but it's probably in one direction. I would say it's probably around 800 in one direction in a day, over an entire day. Now the good news is the road's currently carrying a pretty low traffic volume. It's really low for two lane road. So the carrying the cars is not going to be the issue here. It's just going to be things like locating the driveway in the correct spot to provide the sight distance that's needed. Like I said, if we can do some things like add some signage or some things around the curves just to help out on either end, just to help the traveling public. We certainly can look at those things as well as it gets into design. But this is going to be more of a design factor than it is just how many cars are on the road in this particular case.
Have you had any conversations with DOT at this point about the site distance and where you would locate the driveway and that type of thing?
We have had some initial conversations, but we have not met out in the field yet to locate that. I think there's been some conflicts with schedules, and they normally, like I said, for rezoning, they normally would prioritize projects that are kind of ready to go. If we're rezoning, it's a little bit early for that. We do know that we think we can put the driveway in a range of locations, but we will, as we move forward, we would meet them out there in the field to finalize the actual driveway location.
Thank you.
Certainly.
I would like to ask the question.
Yes, ma'am.
You saying add about 1,000 more cars to that road. This is rural country. This road is real, it got a lot of curves on it. You're gonna add another 1,000 cars on that road with this housing development. I don't understand what's going on here.
But like I said, not all 1,000 are going in the same direction, because some of those will go, left. Some of those go right out of the driveways, out of the driveway. So it is probably around 800 cars in one direction, so there'll be about 800 added to the road and over an entire day.
I
So,
understand what you're saying. Right now, the road is already over congested. And to add that and to reduce the sizes from already 30 to 20, it's just like stacking houses on that property, on that piece of property. I can understand why the planning board looked very carefully at this, and I'm proud of you for it. So that's all I gotta say.
okay. Yes, ma'am. I would say as Mr. Brown discussed, the rezoning change would actually increase the lot count by, around 15 or so extra homes. So that's, from a traffic standpoint, and I understand that a lot of folks in the area are concerned about traffic. But, those extra lots are not going to make or break that road.
Not
If
for
it
you,
stays,
but for the citizens.
I'm sorry.
Not for you, but for the citizens.
As I mentioned, I think there's some things we can do to actually help improve that road network. The curves there are some tight curves out there, and we heard the neighbors spoke about that at planning board. And but I do think there's some things we can do from a development standpoint, that working with DOT to add curvature and signage and those kinds of things to help draw more attention to those curves, and help reduce the potential for folks to run off the road there in those curves. We're happy to do that as well.
at RA 30, how many houses will you be able to get?
105,
At RA 20, how many?
about 120.
Thank you.
And all that's subject to your soils map. Okay.
Yeah, we've already had that done.
So going from 30 to 20 will add 30 vehicles.
Probably about 100 or so.
Yeah. I tell you,
No, going from 30 to 20, you're going to add 15 more houses.
15 more houses will give you about 100 trips a day.
right.
Well, okay, all
15
right,
lots.
okay,
Yeah, so it is about 100, roughly 100
okay.
trips a day over an entire day. But it is, I think where you were headed, it's more about like 15, it's around 15 trips in the peak rush hour. So I think that may be where you were kind of going, but it is about 15 more cars in the rush hour over an entire hour, or one every 4 minutes. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else to speak for this? Hearing, seeing none, are there any who are opposed? Recognize the gentleman in the orange shirt in the back. I'll get to you in a minute, Mr. Long.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nelson Pagans. I live on 1048 McDougal Road. I also own 998 McDougal Road, which is directly across from the development that they're proposing. The problem with the curve is cars run off and then they overcorrect, and they end up, there was three in front of my house within the last couple of weeks. There was one at my neighbor's. They either get my yards or his yard, one or the other. Pulling out every morning is horrible. It's very dangerous getting out. I'm not buying the few cars because I live there and I see, and I've been living there for 20 years because I built my house there 20 years ago. The post office service had me move my mailbox across the street on my side because it's too dangerous for me to cross the road and it's too dangerous for the mail carrier to stop there. So since the last storm that came, I was having some cinder blocks delivered. Wombles had their truck out there with a Moffett on the back, which is a forklift on the back of the truck. 3 cars, but he had a signal on. He was trying to turn in. 3 cars went past him at 45, 50 miles an hour while he was trying to turn. If he hadn't caught him in the rearview mirror, we'd have had a really nice one in front of my house because of the amount of traffic. People are, once they come out of that curve, there's not a lot of time to keep from hitting me or somebody in front of my house. So when we pull out wide open. And I'm pulling a truck and trailer because I'm in the construction business. I'm pulling a truck and trailer out of there, and I have to kick it to keep from getting ran over. As far as the soul is concerned, I used to own Mr. Walters as well. I had 5 acres there. I cut it down. I sold him 3. I kept 2. I relaid it and added some to mine. I tried to cut my current lot down on my rental, the 998 McDougall Roadhouse. The lowest the surveyors will let me cut it was 1.6 acres, whatever it is, 1.1. I think it's like 1.16, whatever that number was. I was trying to cut it down to 3/4 of an acre, but they told me because of the soil that I didn't need to cut it. I couldn't cut it any smaller. So I can't have a smaller lot, but they can. I'm just saying. All right, so pulling out, it's horrible. Traffic's horrible. The accidents happen because of the width of the road, people coming around the traffic. Putting signs up are not going to do any good. You got to do something besides signs. I know the subdivision's coming. I can't stop that. But they need to do something different than signs. They've put signs up. They put 45. They've slowed the speed down. It doesn't matter. Younger generations don't pay attention to signs. They don't read them. They don't abide by them, and they don't respect the law. It's not a good place to be coming in and out of. I thought when I bought my property on McDougall Road, I thought, well, man, this is a back road. It was 20 years ago, and I thought, man, ain't no traffic on this road. By the time I had my lot cleared, I was already awake to the amount of traffic that goes on McDougall Road, and it's because everybody uses it as a cut-through road. And now all these subdivisions are coming, so it's getting worse and worse and worse. One of my moral concerns about the property is there's a graveyard on the property as well. Right in the middle of the property, there's a graveyard. Not sure what's going to happen to that, but I can't stop it. But I just want the board to be aware that McDougall Road is a traffic problem. I wish the police would take a little more harder look at that road as well to try to do something with it because it is very dangerous. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Jeff, sir. Anyone else to speak opposed to that? While you're approaching, I want to direct a question. Out there, the small blue block in the middle of the aerial photograph, is that the cemetery he's talking about? Thank you. Please go ahead, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. You said traffic was like moderate. In my humble opinion, traffic is very, very heavy. It is very dangerous. The pictures up here do not represent the curves on each end of the property that they're wanting to develop. I've already had multiple vehicles upside down in my front yard. And this increase in traffic is going to make it that much worse. People are already using my driveway as a turnaround. And when these people turn around in my driveway, they can't see around that curve. And there's going to be more wrecks that's going to happen. I can't stop development, I know that. But hopefully I can say something to reduce the RA down to 20. And by the main purpose of developers, honestly, they're to make money. So at the end of the day, they go back to their homes and they do not care how this will affect us now and in the future. I have got to live with trying to risk my life just about to go out into that road. It is a nightmare. And respectfully, I would invite anybody to come and sit in my front yard and watch that traffic because it's heavy. And I guarantee you won't sit there again to do it. It's a nightmare. And traffic, it's going to be more than 1,000 cars. I mean, to me, that's a low volume. I mean, you're going to have kids that's going to drive to school. The parents are going to go to work. And most of them are going to go towards Lillington to get there. There's going to be more people going to Lillington than they are, say, to Sanford. And there's going to be going to Raleigh. But that's about all I have to say. It's just a nightmare. And there's wrecks all the time. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition?
Yeah, Alan Longman, 234 Hamilton Road, bond level. I'm in opposition for the same reason everybody else is. I don't know if this was accepted yet was it already accepted by the planning board? If not, the problem would be that you should advise the board, because of the statute, that you're supposed to do what's best for the county and its people. Should be advised, whatever department that handles any part of this should be advised of the liabilities or problems that will occur if they make certain decisions in the planning board and other areas. And that should be told legally what is best for the county so it doesn't have liabilities if things are not followed and therefore should not have been accepted. In actuality, I have doubts that a contract can be given to somebody, and if it's found to be fraudulent, isn't it voidable? And if they're doing that when they're building the buildings after approval, can that be overturned? Thank you.
Come forward and be recognized.
I thank you so much for your time and for just being able to listen to us. But anyway, I was going to tell you the history of this place. It was the Layton property. And the property, he accumulated, from what I can understand, he accumulated that property. Oh, Philip Spence. He accumulated that property back during the Depression. He owned a store there in Lillington, and he sold fertilizer, and he would let the farmers have the fertilizer and so forth, and they used it against the property, And anyway, he accumulated all that land during the Depression, from what I understand. But I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, because, you can hear so many things, But anyway, he owned so much land there that when we first moved out there, they called it the Layton Road instead of McDougal Road. And anyway, he sat on the board of the Harnett County trustees or whatever you call. And anyway, he had all those the reason that that road was so crooked, they said it went by all of his farms. Because back then, you just had an old T-Model Ford or something to go to different farms, or a horse and buggy or whatever, And anyway, my father and grandfather bought that land from me. My wife and I, we've been staying out there 60 years. And whenever I had the property run out for my grandfather and my wife's father and mother, they put a trailer down there. And when I had it run out, the man said, "Did you know that they're over on your property 10 feet?" And so that was the main reason I was coming down here today. They had come over on my property 10 feet. But see, over the years, they just throwed up an old, they just threw up what you say, an old iron stake somewhere, and call that the corner. But all them old corners got tore up over the years. And then they hired Joe Hall Ross to go out there. And he went over there and done the best he could with it, but they didn't notify me on anything whenever they set the corners. And then this crew has come in here recently, and none of them contacted me at all and set the corners and everything that's running lines. None of them whatsoever has contacted me about where the line was or anything. And anyway, that's what I wanted to speak to you tonight about. And anyway, I just didn't want my daughter to get cut short on the property down there where she's at. She's put in a new double wide and all down there. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You want to speak and pose?
Yes, sir. That's my father-in-law. My name's Anthony Plumley. I live at 195 Spenceway Lane. Our driveway goes through a big portion of the property and everything. Me and my wife, we have a well, and with all the construction and everything, it's going to contaminate our water and everything. But the majority of what I want to speak about is all the traffic. I'm a trauma specialist for the past 10 years at Wake Med, and now I work at Rex in the OR as well. And I'm sure they did their due diligence about the traffic and everything. And to comment on what you were talking about, an extra 1,000 vehicles, well, on October 2nd, got me to thinking, so we did some research with Wake Med and Rex. Over the past 5 years, there have been 5 to 7 fatalities between old US 421 and Spring Hill Church Road. How many more fatalities is all this traffic going to bring along that stretch? And I mean, I didn't bring the documentation because we couldn't get it together in time, but I'm sure I can with the help of the trauma surgeons that I work with and everybody that I work with. That's not a problem. I mean, I've developed a lot of friends in the medical field over the time that I've worked with we can get that together. But I mean, that's a lot of lives. They've had some, and I've seen it. I mean, I've stopped and helped on my way home to help with these places. With all the construction that's going to bring, the amount of homes that's going to come, even if it's just, they're coming anyway. I know that. But even with the more coming, if we can reduce the amount that's coming, we have a water well. That's going to contaminate our water to begin with. That's my kids that live in the house with us. We live at 195 right there. That driveway comes right through that property. Our dogs, the wildlife that's going to be right there that's going to be impacted by all that. I can wake up right now in the morning. I get up at 5 a.m. to get ready for work, to go work in the OR, and I can see doe, I can see deer, we see raccoons, squirrels, whatever. We thought we saw a bear the other day. All that's going to be gone. Where are we going to stop all this? It's, and that's all I got to say. But thank you. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Allison Plumley. I'm at 195 Spenceway Lane. And just to reiterate some of the things that have been saying, I would like to add that Lillington Shawtown School is the traffic that we're talking about, the extra 800 to 1,000 that are going to come through there one direction are going to go right by that school also. So besides that being in a bad place and all that kind of stuff, you're going to carry all of that traffic right by your school. And as it is in the afternoons, whenever you come down that road, there's a line of cars waiting on the side of the road trying to get in to get their children. It is very congested anyway. So we're talking about the congestion that's going to be added to an already congested area. So far as the traffic that will go to the left, that traffic would be headed towards Lee County, which I don't believe is developing at the same rate as it is in Wake County. So I disagree that there would be half going one way and half going the other way. I think the majority of all that traffic is going to come right through downtown Lillington at the stoplight that has become the nightmare right there at Main and Front Street. We know that change is coming. We know that there's very little we can do about it. But I would encourage you guys to please take into consideration your citizens, where the area is already being overwhelmed by not allowing rezoning. Then you're at least lessening the impact. The RA40, the RA30 originally in Harnett County meant that if you were a farmer, that we can't keep you from subdividing your land to your children. That's what that meant. It meant that you could have your farm, and then whenever you got older, you could parcel it out to your kids. It didn't mean that you were going to have a developer come and buy all of your farmland and parcel it out on half-acre lots and try to put a septic tank under every one of them. So I appreciate your opportunity to speak tonight, and I trust that you guys will make the right decision for our community and for our future. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
Elizabeth Longman, asking the board to pay attention to what the person who did the traffic study said. He said that the traffic there is way less than what the average is, but he never gave you concrete numbers. We do not know what the average is, and even if this number is way less, is it a number that you as commissioners are willing to tolerate? You do not know what the numbers are. You just know that it is less than this other number, which you also do not know. So it would be excellent if someone who did the study came with numbers to present to the commissioners so you can make a fully informed decision as to what the traffic impact will be. Because right now you just know it's one number is the average, and this is less than the average, but did not know what those numbers are at this moment. And if we took the time to do the study, it would have been nice if we presented that. As many people have come before you guys and always present numbers, it would be good if you had the concrete numbers and not insinuations or inflections and intonation in your conversation to sway the board. You'd look at the actual numbers.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, at this time we'll close the public hearing. Your motion on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this item until November 20.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk. Okay, at this time we're going to public hearing for a proposed text amendment for, you're gonna have to, where's she at? There she is. You're gonna have to forgive me, I'm pronouncing your name. Lazutsu? Okay. I'm gonna place it. For an ordinance of Article 5, Sections 1.2, Table of the Use of Types and Regulations, and Section 7.7.4, Vehicle Sales and Leasing and Rentals. County's UDO to add vehicle sales, leasing, and rental to the use table as a special use in RA30, RA20R, and RA20M zoning districts, and add D, vehicle sales, leasing, and rental activities are prohibited within approved residential subdivisions. We're listening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very well stated, Mr. Vice Chairman. Thank you. Jay Sykes, Development Services here. We don't get a lot of text amendments from citizens, but this is a citizen, Ms. Sarah, and Mr. Richard Lukashik. Basically, they want to add this use to the residential areas. Right now, it's in the commercial areas. Typically, you see a car sales lot in a larger area. Just a little bit of background detail. What they do is have smaller U-Haul trailers and vans. It's basically a private contract. It's kind of an offset for employment. Our husband is deployed. Contractors with U-Hauls have to stay rented. If not, they'll be taken away from actual site. So looking at this type of use, we thought, okay, yeah, it would make sense. We see a lot of these or DMV small private offices in residential areas requests come about as well, and they've been going through the special use process as well. So that would be Ms. Lukashik's next step would be to go and just get, if it's approved tonight from the ordinance side of things, she'd go to the Board of Adjustment and basically just tell you the who, what, where, when, and why of her business and why it would fit on her site, which is in Milton Welch Road. But basically, we're talking about all of RA 30 and 20s.
So what you're telling us is still a special use permit. So if somebody comes up on an R20 lot in a subdivision, they can still be turned down.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But in her case, where she's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, sir.
Plenty of room around her where she's got.
Yes, sir. Yep. We thought it would make sense there. And planning board agreed as well. They voted 5-0 in unanimous approval and thought that the consistency statement was in harmony with the Harnett County regulations.
Any questions for staff? None.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anyone who'd like to speak for? I'm sorry, motion to go or move to go into public hearing. Now, is there anyone like to speak for the issue? Anyone speak against the issue?
Yes.
Please come to the podium and be recognized.
Sorry, Jay. But Rebecca Brock, 5220 Christian Light Road. I would like that you remove the RA 30 in this amendment. All the people that spoke tonight, I checked their zoning. It's RA 30. RA 30 can go from half an acre to multiple acres. This gentleman over here, it's RA 30. These people, the lady at 195 Spence said RA 30 and RA 40 is for agriculture. Now, when you have, here's a picture of the McDougal Road. It's right here. This orange is 30. All of it is 30. It's recalculating. It's all 30. Have you asked how many homes, single-family homes, are on RA 30 in Harnett County? I bet you it's the largest group of single-family homes. And I would like it struck from this amendment. And 20 is more residential. 20R and 20M means that it's not so agriculture. And I think that, I think you would do something that seems fine, but have a negative effect to other places that are zoned RA 30 in the future. Thank you.
Anybody else speak in opposition?
Al Longman, 234 Hamilton Road, Bond Level. It's the same as before. How it will affect in the future the area that you're zoning, and I don't think it's compatible. The question is, you could expand it. I don't want it expanded in the future. And my main thing is that, like everything else, I don't think you should be building in that area for the same reason. You say it's compatible. You say you could do this and you could do that, but I don't see it. And I don't trust the information about what they're going to do with it later. because they could change their mind to put more houses on that type of zoning. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition? Speaking in favor.
I got a question.
By all means. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at this use regulations. And it looks to me like this is classified as vehicle sales, leasing, et
Yes, sir.
cetera.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if I interpret this chart from the UDO correctly, it doesn't matter if it's RA 40 or RA 20M. It's got the same use.
Yes, sir. Be a special use. That's exactly right. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So taking RA 30 out of this amendment, you know, I mean, we can take everything out but RA 40. They can still operate the business they want to operate. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. It'd still have to go and request special permission, yes, sir.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else want to speak in opposition? Hearing and seeing none, this time we'll move to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve this amendment.
Chair seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk. Okay. Move on to number 14. Discuss approval of a letter to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality regarding the permit modification for the Martin Mariana Materials. I'll yield the floor to Mr.
Chairman.
Weatherspoon. He's more adapt to this issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I requested that this letter be adopted or be drafted to send to NCDEQ expressing opposition by the Harnett County Commissioners for the quarry expansion along the border of the Wake-Harnett line. We heard earlier tonight from one of the residents, and I've had many phone calls and a few emails in opposition to this. It is going to cause quite a bit of chaos out there. DOT is in the process of evaluating Fletcher Tudor Road. They are requiring that cores be drilled every so many feet, every so many 100 feet. And because they don't know what's underneath that asphalt. You know, at the time this road was built, it's what I call a ribbon street. Heard that before, Collie? They've probably got 2 inches of asphalt on soil, and it won't take but 1 or 2 dump trucks coming out of that quarry, and guess what you got? A pothole. So I think I would ask that the board approve this, recommending that, or expressing our opposition to this quarry expansion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay.
I think we need to.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Secretary. Mr. Manager, does that need to be read into the record or just mention the letter and it be placed in the record?
It was motion to approve, and we'll forward the letter to the proper authority, and it'll be recorded in the minutes as approved.
All right, County Manager's report.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. I have a few items tonight I wanted to cover. The first item I wanted to mention was upcoming, we have some public meetings that are going to come about related to our upcoming comprehensive land use plan. A lot of these items that we were hearing tonight are going to be affected by what we do in the future for our comprehensive land use plan. So I hope those individuals will consider coming to those meetings and provide the similar input, if that's how they feel, related to our growth and so forth in the future. The second item I have is that we have a public information session coming up on October 26th here in this building. We'll be discussing 3 areas: animal services, development services, and economic development. So there'll be presentations and then an opportunity for citizens to ask questions. A while back, the board approved the application to USDA Rural Housing for a grant for $85,000. Wanted to inform the board that we were approved. This is money that we will utilize in order to assist individuals to have improvements done to their home, up to $10,000 per home. It really is very helpful for us in allowing individuals to be able to stay in their homes by the improvements that we're able to do with that funding. So excited. I've signed the agreement and we'll be able to take applications soon related to that funding. The last item that I have is that myself, Commissioner Weatherspoon, Deputy County Manager Coley, and I, Coley Price, attended a ceremony at Campbell University and received this nice gift related to announcing us as founders of the medical school at Campbell. Quite an honor for the county to receive the support that our county gave back well before my time here of $3 million to support that university's medical school, helped to bring that medical school here, and it's quite a thing for us to have that in our county. So we were recognized by the university on the Founders Day. That's all I have, Chairman.
And that was the 10-year anniversary.
Yes, it's the
of
10-year anniversary.
Founding of the medical school.
Any other discussion on that?
I believe we need a motion to approve some budget amendments.
Yes, we do.
I make a motion, we approve the budget amendments that have been submitted.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I also move that we approve tax rebates, refunds, and releases as requested by the tax administrator.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it on both issues, Madam Clerk. New business. Is there any new business to come before this body?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have requested that our legal staff write a letter to the U.S. Corps of Engineers expressing opposition to the quarry expansion along the Wake County, Harnett County line. Turns out one of the reasons given by Martin Marietta for not continuing to use the ingress egress that they currently use in Wake County is that there's a stream there and they're not allowed to cross that stream. That being said, I think we need to express our opposition to this expansion to Corps of Engineers, as same as we have done to NCDEQ.
Okay. That's in the form of a motion.
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion has been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bell, do you know when that letter will be available?
It is right now.
Oh, okay, good.
It's up on the screen.
He hit me in the face, will you?
Mr. Counsel, do we have a need for a closed session?
We do. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I move that the board go into closed session for the following purpose: to consult with the county's legal counsel in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain litigation, including the following case: the appeal of Jackson Family Enterprises LLC before the NC Property Tax Commission, file number 22 PTC 0259, 2 parcels. And I'm making this motion in accordance with NC General Statute, Section 143-318.11A3.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go into closed session. opposed, sign. On the
Adjourn.
Second.
so moved. We're closed. Go on.